Hello and welcome to Today at Dunamis. We have a very easy, laid-back going episode today. You know, nothing too controversial, nothing too crazy happening here on Today at Dunamis. Should be a nice and easy episode. You know, nothing too crazy, just sex books for kids. Nothing too crazy. What do you think, Shaun? Should be a pretty easy episode. Nothing too crazy.
Nothing too crazy. Well, if Erica could get... There we go. So what do I think? Well, it's nice having Erica here with us. Erica, how are you?
Give me 1 second. I got to change my ears over.
Oh, yeah, she's on a slight delay.
It echoes if I don't change it.
Yeah.
Okay, so Erica changed your ears over.
Yeah, I couldn't tolerate it.
Well, it's
I'm
good. It's good. So how is the baby?
Growing, I'm sure. Fine, all is well.
It's cooking.
Baby's not growing, you're growing, but I mean,
both.
You're growing, yeah. We're just so funny. We're trying to do the prep thing for this morning, and poor Erica, she's fine everywhere else, but the tummy with Bobby just didn't want to go around the corner.
Yeah.
That's all. So we're all laughing. It's all done in the right way. So.
Yes.
We are missing somebody though.
Yes, someone chose not to be on the episode this week.
What did I say to him? Was a quote from Ed Cole. Silence is not always golden.
Yeah.
Sometimes silence is yellow.
Yeah. And I will say, we also asked all the staff at the Tuesday meeting if they wanted to be in on this episode, and they all said no. But
praise God for Ed and Erica and Shaun, because hey, there are issues that we've got to learn to address.
I agree.
Yes.
And it's the first time I've seen you put up the trailer or the ad for what we're doing with so many people commenting on it.
Yes.
Most of them were good. Some of them, some a little bit vulgar, we had to get rid of, and others were whatever. But, you know, it's the way it does, isn't it? So I was out on my early morning
jog Tuesday,
whatever
right?
it is. Yeah.
Tuesday morning.
It was about 4. Had to be just after 5:30 because of Ben Fordham.
Yes.
And he brought up about this particular book that was being sold at Big W.
That we have here in the studio.
Yeah.
Erica?
Oh.
I got it.
Okay.
Hey, here is this heathenous book.
Yeah. And so the book, I mean, like, I wouldn't even know it existed, but it's called Welcome to Sex.
Welcome to Sex, yes.
And as I heard on this program, it's very explicit.
Very. And we're not talking like, oh, those Christians, they can't handle a bit of the real words. No. This is like...
pornographic.
Yeah. It shouldn't be something... It's very intense. I don't know how to describe it.
This is how to introduce your young people to soft porn, basically.
Yeah.
And remember, on the front cover of the book, inside cover, it says this is for the age group of 11 to 14-year-olds.
Yes, whether you're an apprehensive 11-year-old or a curious 14-year-old. And then it just keeps going on about...
Yeah, and we're just going to stick to the facts that we do know.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the author of this book, one of the authors of this book is a Dr.
Melissa Kang and Yumi Stins.
Yeah, so we looked up the credentials of Dr. Melissa Kang. She's got a PhD to see is in child psychology, Christian education. I meant in education. I said Christian education, et cetera, and to find out what her degree level is. Because when you see a doctor, okay, all right. So what is the expertise?
Yes.
You know what I mean? Is it to do with children, psychology on children? What else? But we looked up the credentials, and the degree is in...
Well, allegedly, her degrees are Doctor in Philosophy.
So this is a PhD is philosophy.
Master in Community Health.
And
a Bachelor of Medicine and Bachelor of Surgery. Nothing to do with children.
Okay, so I mean, some might say when she's the biology, but I mean, but the thing is, you know, philosophy. Okay.
Yeah, what kind of philosophy, huh?
Well, the issue, just trying to keep to the facts, is it's you know, it's hard. I mean, I always like Dr. Dobson. Okay, whose degree is in children and education, so forth. So that's what I go for. So when someone's putting their title on a particular book, which is for, what's the word, to clarify their ability and everything else, it's philosophy. So the PhD here is philosophy. We have Dr. whatever of philosophy.
Yes.
Giving advice on the children. Now, now here's a situation, okay? Now you have to understand that I'm a Christian.
Yes.
Okay, we are Christians here.
Yes.
And being Christians, we have a view or opinion that will differ from our general society or world's view.
Yes.
Some of you will support it, some of you wouldn't like it, and then some of you are in that middle area saying that, hey, I'm conservative by nature and I'm concerned. But the issue is, it's not just a book. It's telling you how to masturbate. It's telling you, it shows pictures of what position to be in.
Very detailed.
For homosexual positions, for heterosexual positions. It shows the anatomy of the body, pictures and things, and how to stimulate yourself, how to do things there. So there's a lot of concerning things, and we think the target there is 11 to 14-year-olds. And it's not like 11-year-old got this book and they walked up to the counter and the checkout person says, are you too young for this book? It wouldn't happen. So you could just go in there and get that book and do it. Now, we have found out, because it's been very hard to make contact, obviously, with the Woolworths and Big W, etc. But Ed got hold of an interesting article this morning in reference towards Big W in this book. Do you have that article?
Yeah. So it's been pulled from Big W shelves after alleged staff abuse. We know that there has been a wide range of views about this book. However, it is disappointing that there have been multiple incidents of abuse directed at store team members in the past 24 hours, a Big W spokesman told 9 News. Something interesting that The Guardian brought up was that in a statement, the Australian Classification Board said it had not received an application from the publisher or distribution to classify Welcome to Sex. So I thought that was interesting that this book hasn't even been classified by our classification board.
Yeah, I can't see it as being a G for general.
Yeah. No way.
No.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean. So how does it get by? How did it do this?
How they? Is it maybe books just aren't go through the stringent classification as like TV shows, movies?
Well,
video
there
games,
has to
maybe.
be, because pornography has its own area, and other things have restrictions of where it's sold, where it's done. So we sent out Erica to go and purchase the book.
Yes, on Tuesday morning.
Yes.
Yeah. So how it's part of the research.
Yes.
So Erica, how hard was it to get the book?
So I went to our local and they didn't have it in stock, and so then I went to Beanley, which is close-ish, and I got the last book.
Yes.
One thing I will say, I have a photo, I forgot to send it to Ed, is that the book was on the top shelf, so it wasn't like child height. It was like actually only an adult can, or I guess tallish teenager can reach it. But I had to ask for help because I was looking everywhere and I couldn't find it. And I showed the lady the book and I was like, I'm buying this because we don't like it. I felt like I had to explain myself because I was embarrassed by the topic.
I couldn't be, but I just would have grabbed and said, okay, let's go. But it was like, it's not me.
It's not for me.
It's so weird.
It's not for me.
I mean, so what is our concern? Okay, so let's talk about it from a conservative level.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Whether you're a Christian or not, but a conservative level. What is our concern? So let's first of all speak to Erica, who is the mother of an infant child, has another child on the way. So Erica, if I ask you, what is your concern with said book?
It's, I think I'm sad. I have outrage sometimes when I think about it because, so in my opinion, it's the responsibility of the home to educate the children, not secular books or whatever. So I just think it's like, who knows, someone could be getting this kid this book for Christmas, like they're wrapping it right now. Who knows? And it's just like, that's so sad. Like, it's our responsibility as parents to teach our children the truth and to guard their hearts, really, in my opinion. So it's just like, what a bummer. Yeah.
So then, Ed, you are 28. You're not married, obviously. Just want to put it out there. You're not married. Okay. You're not married, single man. And so what about you and your criteria? How does that affect you, or from what angle does it affect you of such a book? Man,
when I was reading it, I mean, I went through sex education when I was at high school.
Okay.
And this is somehow more graphic.
More explicit.
I can't believe just it's not so much the idea, but when you look at the images, the drawings, it's so, as Erica described it, like almost like soft pornography. Even though it's funny, there's actually a section in here that talks about pornography, and it's okay, what it discusses, but it leaves out a massive part of like the psychological damage pornography can do to your mind.
Of course.
It just says, oh, pornography is not realistic, which is true. It's not. But that's as far as it goes. And then it just goes off onto talking about how culture and religion is bad because we teach no sex before marriage and blah, 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 blah. But yeah, I mean, this book is insane. If we had this when I was younger, I'm sure my generation would be even more messed up than what it is now.
Well, they even have a picture of, I believe it to be a Muslim girl wearing
there's plenty of
head covering in that area. So I was surprised even at how they were going towards that particular angle. You know what I mean? I mean, obviously it was a Muslim cartoon animated looking person,
yes,
with the headgear on.
Yes.
So they're pretty, and bold in that context.
Yeah, and it gives like almost step-by-step instruction on how to perform sexual acts that, I don't know, I don't think you need to be doing all this crazy stuff in the bedroom.
So it's giving instruction to an 11-year-old. This is how you do it.
Yeah.
We have a same sex, we have opposite sex. This is the position you do. This is the thing you do. This is what happens here, and this is where it's not an awareness. It's going above and beyond, and then it makes it slaps down when it comes towards Christianity or other groups. There, it you must say, well, why do you bring it up? Well, because they have a go at the Christians.
Yes.
They are saying that Christianity and other groups is not relative and shouldn't be in there saying it, and they shouldn't be denying the experimentation and shouldn't be denying these things here. I mean, like, you wouldn't see anything there on abstinence.
Yeah, or purity. I think there was even a section in there. It's like, we should get rid of the word virginity. We should just get rid of it and not incorporate it into our language anymore. And it's like, whoa, that's such a like sacred thing, especially when it talks about in the Bible about like, blood covering and all that kind of stuff. And
well, I mean, so again, this doctor is a doctor of philosophy. So this is the danger here, is that they're not speaking from the context. Okay, she has some medical degrees, so she can understand anatomy. Okay, but this is not about pure anatomy. This is about fulfillment, experimentation,
self-gratification,
self-gratification, all the areas. And of course, as a Christian, we talk about the difference between lust and love.
Yes.
So we would define as a Christian that lust is the benefit of self at the expense of others. So when they talk about, pornography is not real and everything else, well, hang on a minute. Okay. I thought this is where I get confused with our society. There's one part that talks about, what's the word they say about with women? Women should not be objectified.
Oh, yeah, objectified.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, what do you think pornography does?
Absolutely.
Objectifies women,
Yeah, I mean, I see it happening all the time. They say, but they have chosen to be that way.
But it's empowering.
But there's a real problem here.
Yeah.
Okay. And what happens with take the area of masturbation and so forth. Okay. So in our Christian circle, I teach against masturbation.
Yes.
Because it's lust.
Yes.
It's gratifying of self at expense. And it's been shown and proven that when you open up this door, it has an effect on your marriage relationship.
Absolutely.
Because it becomes to where your mind goes into other areas, or people are wanting their partners to indulge in porn together and doing things, and the act results is just a terrible area of the thing. So, I mean, there's so many problems that we have in this area, which is there. But I mean, putting it aside, I just don't expect Big W to be doing this.
Yeah.
I mean, put it aside here. So the book is sold in the children's section, Erica?
Yeah. So it, to be honest, it was kind of more of like a parenting section. Okay. Like the kid section is right here, and then it perpendicular to it was on the top shelf was the book.
Okay, so it's in the general vicinity.
Yeah.
Okay, so the issue is that why are we doing this?
Yeah.
Okay. Now I know in the ideal Christian home,
yes,
it's meant to be to where we as parents are giving instruction.
Yes.
And we know that one of the biggest problems today is the structure breakdown, and we know that's very real. Yeah. But here's the issue: it's just going above and beyond.
Yeah,
it's just going. What are we trying to promote? What are we trying to bring about You know what I mean? In these areas. There's obviously, well, experimentation is okay. No, it's not okay. Okay. And the damage it causes and the doors it opens and the things that happen.
Yes.
And, you know, we work strong here in our church about purity.
Yes.
And, I mean, we have people, of course, that have a checkered background, and we understand that, and we help them. We don't allow them to come under condemnation or anything else, but we work through the area there. But there is, at our grassroots, is with our young people, teaching about purity, about abstinence, about understanding your own self and understanding covenant and understanding what it means here. And this is something that we have taught and continue to teach very much so. So what we want to do is, rather than just emphasize the problems we have in regards to this book, and I'm a father, I mean, I'm
You're also a
father
grandfather.
of an adult son,
Yes.
but I'm a grandfather.
Yes.
You know, one grandson is 6 years old.
I'm not.
Yes.
I don't know. Okay.
And granddaughter is 3 years old.
Yes.
So, you know, I have genuine concerns. So let's just go back there. So what can we offer for parents to help out? And this is the important thing, is like, rather than just tearing apart something,
Yeah, don't look at this, but that's it.
Yeah.
what do we offer in place of?
place
So you got
of.
genuine parents here.
Yes.
And they're saying, hey, I want to be able to know how to lead our children or help our children through this stage of puberty, through this stage of understanding the body changes and that's what happens. So what do we offer them? How do we help them go through this progress? So Erica, you've been doing a lot of work on this area. So why don't I just invite you for a moment just to share in this area?
So one parenting book I would really recommend. I haven't read it fully. I'm literally reading a potty training book right now. That's where I'm at in parenting, but it's on my to-do list very soon to read. It's called How and When to Teach Your Kids About Sex. And it was recommended by some Christian podcasters that I listen to and highly respect.
Yes.
And like, they have, like, I think one of them, their oldest just graduated high school. So they have like a track record of like good parenting as Christian parents. And Ed has an excerpt from the book.
Yes.
that
Well, let's have
show.
a turn to that then right now. So this is Stan and Brenna Jones. Now, what is their background? Do we know?
I'll find out.
Yeah, so you do a background.
I know that Stan has written a lot of books. Like,
Let's just have a look at his background.
Sure.
So, so through Stan and Brenna Jones, How and When to Tell Your Kids About Sex, a lifelong approach to shaping your child's sexual character.
Yeah.
Okay? Parents Guide. So we don't give them something. So protecting our children from the physical, emotional, and spiritual damage that can result from irresponsible and inappropriate sexual choices is important. But our most important goal is to equip and empower our children to enter adulthood capable of living godly, wholesome, and fulfilled lives as Christian men and women, Christian husbands and wives. So, you know, this is the overall section of the book, or that helps us to understand a bit of the background.
I have the author's background. Stan Jones is a clinical psychologist who served as a professor and provost, academic vice president at Wheaton College for over 35 years. And he's now retired. He continues as an active scholar and teacher. Brenna Jones, after raising their children while serving as a Bible study leader, now focuses on discipleship and prayer ministry for women, and they've been married for over 40 years, and they have good relationships with their 3 adult children.
Yeah, wow.
Their spouses and their grandchildren.
So again, what we want to do is look at here saying, what can we offer as an alternative?
Yes.
Okay.
So rather than just say, let's just tear this apart.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, what can we offer? Now,
So-
I'll tell you, we're going to be offering these books ourselves anyhow.
Yes.
To have them available.
Yep.
So, which is very important.
Do you have
go
the
ahead, Erica.
the series?
This is a different book as well.
This is one I have as well. This one.
For younger children again.
So it's specific. This is for young children. I'll just read this page. Good pictures are safe to look at. Bad pictures are not safe to look at. Bad pictures are like picture poison for your brain. Looking at them is dangerous for a growing child. And so it just communicates, it's differentiating between good and bad. And I think one of the pages says like, oh, a bad picture came up at school and I had a bad feeling. What are you supposed to do? Oh, you need to tell an adult. You need to tell a safe adult that picture came up on the screen. And it just like gives them permission to recognize the bad feeling that they have when they see it, and then to tell someone so that they don't just like have the shame of seeing it.
Just
as
hold
well.
it in, yeah.
Yeah.
So, what do we do with and I've heard stories, and I'm talking predominantly about what we call our public schools. So let's say you have a 9-year-old, 10-year-old, 11-year-olds in a public school.
Yeah.
Okay. And as we know that they will have books to read,
Yeah.
which for us as Christians is contrary to our values.
Yeah.
It could be a book that's promoting homosexuality.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. It could be a book transgender. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. Which can be contrary to what we would hold to.
Yes.
Right? And they've been taught bad picture, not like, let's just say.
Yep.
So all of a sudden you say, well, I've taught my child, you see a bad picture, you feel uncomfortable saying no, and you tell an adult.
Yep.
So who would be the first adult they'd tell?
Well,
It'd be their teacher.
yeah, who
Okay?
obviously might
Not
have a different
it'd be their
worldview.
teacher. Okay,
Yeah.
so they go to the teacher and they go, teacher, whatever, and nothing bad on the teacher, and they say, look, this picture is not good. So obviously the teacher is saying to read the book and do the book report, and so the teacher responds. So how does the teacher respond? The teacher says, well, this is our curriculum, and it might be contrary to your mum and dad, and but you're going to have to do this report. You're going to have to read this.
So there was actually a situation, because I'm 8 years older than my sister, where a teacher recommended basically a young adult fiction book for preteens to read in school. And I threw a stink. I was like, Mom, it had explicit content. And I was like, Mom, this book is not okay for her to be reading. But then the teacher gave her an alternate option.
Okay, so let's establish a couple points here. First of all, this is the United States.
Yeah, that was in the
Second
US.
thing,
Yes.
this is in
Good point.
Oklahoma.
Good point.
And so why I mention Oklahoma? Because Oklahoma is conservative
Yes.
compared to the majority of America from up north. But it happened. But it still brings like a principle to where we have to, as parents or as an older sister, I pray have a good enough relationship with that child
Yes.
to where that child
They're
could feel
open.
comfortable to talk to you. So
That's right.
rather than that child doing, as you said, talk to an adult, and they've talked to an adult who may well be the teacher says, don't be stupid. Or
Do what I say.
maybe not those exact words, but in the area you got to do the report, and then just does the report. But you want to keep the communication alive. And this is the key thing I'm trying to bring out here is this, is that the most important thing that we have in any relationship, which whether it be between you and me, Ed, okay, whether it be between me and my wife, whether it be between myself and my son and family, is the ability to communicate.
Yes,
Trust.
that's right.
Yeah, too. Yeah.
So it is no good trying to bring in, this is my opinion, it is no good trying to bring in beliefs, values, morals, and everything else if we're not communicating.
Yeah.
We've got to, I think that when we're raising our children, I think we have to be prepared that sometimes they're going to bring up a subject, maybe do something, maybe share something that at its face value could be shocking to us,
Right.
Yeah.
maybe hurting us.
Yep.
But we have to learn not to react
Yes.
to that child or that person
Yep.
to where we jeopardize communication.
Yeah.
Because we don't want that child or person to close down to where they can't talk to us.
Yes.
Yeah. That's right.
And we're going to have to learn to deal with that. Because sometimes as Christians, now correct me if I'm wrong, we live in our bubble.
Yes.
We do. We live in our bubble.
Yeah.
Right? And because we live in our bubble, which is great, I'm not saying you can't, okay? You live in your four walls, you shut the door, you close the windows, you put on your praise music. I will not have any of that stuff in this house. But then we have our children who are affected by their schooling. They're affected by, not every child will have private schooling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not every child, not every parent can afford it. And I don't want parents to come under judgment or damnation because they can't afford to send their child to private schooling.
That's right.
Yes.
So we got to deal with the reality that the public school will have a different philosophy and view.
Yeah.
So if I was counseling a parent and the parent says, how do I handle my child going to what we'd call a secular or public school? My counsel is develop good communication
That's really good.
with the child.
That's
Yeah.
great advice.
I'm not going to say be prepared for a sex book, be prepared for this, be prepared. Have good communication. Let your child know that they can come and talk to you on any subject.
Yes.
Because if they feel shamed by you,
That's right.
and let's be honest, as Christians, and I'm not saying we mean it, but as Christians, we can shame our children. We can belittle them, right?
Yeah.
To where they will feel, I can't talk to mum about this. I can't talk to dad about this. Or if I tell my older sibling, they'll dob on me. You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
So you might think I'm skirting the subject, but I'm not. I'm trying to say is that we have to develop communication so that the child can feel the ability or the freedom to communicate with us.
Yeah.
So you're a parent of a 3-year-old now?
He's 2.
2.
Yeah.
So how do you feel on what I'm saying to you about communication?
I completely agree with you. I think, like, I would say, so I never had the birds and the bees talk, and I went to public school after they had it, and I left Christian school before they had the talk. So it's like I actually didn't even have probably appropriate teaching, to be honest. But one thing I was going to say is, like,
Well, you had pre-marriage counseling. So
well, yeah, I mean, yes,
I did
it's
the
fine.
wedding. That's what I'm saying.
Yes, all is well.
We've heard some good reading.
All is well.
All as well.
All is well. But
She's gone
the
red.
point that I'm trying to make is, like, extreme teachings can create shame. So it's like there has to be a healthy, like, open communication. And I think that I agree with you, Pastor Shaun, completely, that is the solution. That it's like one thing they taught us when we were interns in school is you can't ever be shocked by what someone tells you, because lots of people expose their backgrounds to you, and it's like you have to keep a stone face and not be shocked by anything. And I think that principle will apply to parenting. It's like you can't be shocked by anything.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you
it's
just have
not
to be
just a
open.
shock, it's the reaction.
Yes,
So what
that's
concerns
exactly.
me the
It
most
has
with
to be loving
parenting
kindness, yes.
is not that you get shocked, because I think sometimes you can't help it. It'd be
Yeah.
like, oh,
Whoa.
okay. But it's the next response.
Yes.
The next one.
Like, do you make that child feel embarrassed or
Right.
ashamed or
Right.
or ostracized or cut off? Like, I'm not going to say you do that, you're going to hell.
Right.
No, I'm not saying that happens, but I'm just talking about it, in that context. So we have to have that area say, well, come on, let's talk about it.
Yes.
I mean, let's have a discussion. See, like someone said to me, how old should a child be when you talk to them? And my response is this: children mature at different ages, different levels.
Yes.
So my view is, as the discussion comes up, or you can tell the change in their behavior or whatever else, this is a time when you start having discussions.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I did it with my son, you know what I mean? And the area's there. And so I did discussions with my son where he's in primary school.
Yeah. Wow.
And the reason why is because, thankfully, I mean, I'm not saying, I had a relationship with my son to where he could tell me things, and all of a sudden his mates, and he was in a Christian school, private Christian school, his mates were making gestures or saying things. I don't even think his mates fully understood what they were doing, because it's primary school.
Yes.
But I began to talk about areas that I might not have gone all the way through, but just talking the areas as was coming up to explain,
Yes.
and this is the real important thing. So I want to go back, if it's not too personal, with
sure.
yourself and your upbringing.
Yeah.
So when you look back and you said, no one talked to you and your family and everything else, what will you do differently that wasn't done in your family? So as a parent, you and Andreas, what would you do differently to what, and it's not putting down your parents, to
No,
what your
of course not.
parents did? So
Yeah.
what is the difference you do there?
First of all, I just had a memory come back to me, if I can share it.
Yes, please.
Okay, so at my Christian private school, we had this outdoor play area, and there was this wood section, and my friends discovered the F word written on the wood. And somehow I just came onto them discovering the word. And somehow I was the one in trouble. Like, I was the one who, like, got in trouble for writing it. And I was like, I don't even know what this word is. But I'm like, oh my gosh, that is when shame really started on that topic for me, even though I didn't understand what the word even meant. But it was like, oh, you're the culprit for this bad word. But anyways, that's so weird. I forgot about
I just
that.
want to know what the moral of the story is here. I'm missing it.
Because I got in really big trouble over this word that applies to this topic.
Yes.
And it was punishment. It was like fear-based. It wasn't like...
Who punished you? The school?
Yeah,
or-
I was in big trouble with the school.
so-
I got like a demerit, which is like this red piece of paper, and you go home, and it's this really big thing. But anyways, so as a parent, what I will do different, first of all,
Well, first of all, how did your parents react? You came home to the
That's the crazy thing. I can't even. I don't even remember what my parents did. My parents. I think I was like, it wasn't me, and they were like, they believed me, so it's fine. But it was just like the school.
But did they go back to the school to counter that or talk to it?
Probably not. I don't think so.
Would you?
I find that topic specifically very challenging because I think that there is a time and a place for parents to step in, but I think nowadays parents step in too much.
So we're talking about helicopter.
Yes.
Helicopter parents.
You know what's worse than a helicopter parent?
An Apache helicopter
An
parent.
attack.
Attack helicopter parent. Yeah.
Yeah. Because, like, you know, I could have been brave and I could have, like, you know, gone back. But, yeah, I think I would just figure out what the situation was. So let's say
you're the parent.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Okay. I'm trying to get the center in the area because I'm getting a bit confused.
I do want to.
So if you're the parent.
Yes, I have an answer for this.
Good.
Things that I will do different. Things that I will do different is have an open dialogue. And, like, Andres and I'm, like, not the most affectionate person physically, but we are much more affectionate. This is no offense to my parents by any means, but than my parents ever were. And so it's like just that physical display is a healthy thing. That's a healthy thing in marriage, is to hold hands, to kiss, you know, to hug and stuff like that. So just like having a healthy display of affection, I think is one thing that is very different. And also I want to have open dialogue in our house. And one thing too, which take it or leave it, personal opinion maybe, but we call private body parts by their scientific name. We don't use pet names or like, you know, those weird names that you can use. It's like, no, we call it by its body part because it is what it is. And there's no shame that you exist with that body part. So, yeah.
I think for me, when we grew up in the private, we used Chinese words.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, really? Chinese.
Yes.
Yeah, like, can you give an example?
No.
Okay.
But we'd use for anatomy of a male, we'd use a Chinese word, and for the anatomy of a female, we use a Chinese word.
There you go.
Okay.
Because the reason why was because they're younger, they just blurt out with it.
Yeah.
So I preferred them to blurt out with a Chinese word, hoping it wasn't a Chinese celebration. You know what I mean? To we go, oh, you know, blah, blah. But that was me, which is different to Erica, okay? But we'd use a Chinese word, you know, that would happen in that area there. But going back to it, what I'm trying to ask you, what would you do differently? I'm trying to get back to the main point.
I did. I answered.
I was trying to be more specific.
Okay.
Okay, so put it to me. So let's say, for example, and it has happened to me so I was younger.
Sure.
So if he came home and said the school had, he had been penalized.
Oh, in that
this.
specific situation, I would love to hear what you have to say.
I would have gone in to see the teacher
Okay.
with my son,
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
as I've done.
Because I was pretty young, so I don't think I could have stood up for myself without.
You don't
my
have to,
parents.
but your parent can go. So,
Yeah.
but the parent can't go in as a helicopter.
Yes.
So the parent's got to go and say, "Look, I'd like to meet you about this black mark," because as far as you consider, it's still on the record of that school.
Yeah, it is. There it is, right in my history.
Okay, so I would like to go in and say, "Look, I'm not here to say my child is or isn't
Yeah.
guilty. I'm not coming in, but I have talked to my child, and my child said this is what happened.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'd like to know from your side."
Yeah.
How the story differs.
Yeah.
It could well be my child's lying.
Yeah.
So if it is true, I want to know that so I can deal with it. Or it may well be that you just haven't heard the whole story.
Yes.
So therefore, I want to give information on it.
That's good.
Yeah.
You
That's
know?
a good.
And to me, because I think that, I mean, there's been cases with when Josiah was young, there was a bullying situation. I think because Josiah was smaller for his age, you know what I mean, because of his mother's side in those areas. And there was a bullying situation where his mates were just hammering him, just punching him in the belly and doing all these things here and really hurting him. And it was happened for a while. And he was a bit withdrawn. And I said to him, you know, what's happening, mate? You know what I mean? And he had a couple of tears and he says, you know, my best friends, you know, just beating up on them. You know what I mean? These are good Christian boys from the church. You know what I mean? They thought it was fun, but a little bit. So I said to him, well, look, there's several ways we can handle this. So what I wanted to do is rather than be that helicopter or attack helicopter, but it just goes, that's it, I'm going in. I said, let's have a discussion how we can deal with it. Okay. Number one is I can go in and see the principal/teacher and saying this was happening, one should be aware. And I said, now the end result will be it'll probably stop, but your friends will feel like, put you down for it.
Yeah.
Can't stop it.
Yeah.
Number 2 is I can contact their parents because I'm the pastor. They come to the same church.
Yeah.
I can contact those parents and I can say to those parents, this is what's happening towards my son by your kids. I need you to put an end to it. I have no doubts because I know the parents. They would have stopped it straight away. But again, those kids will go like, you dobbo or whatever else they do. Because, in Australia, dobbing is a big issue.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He said, what's my third option? I said, I can teach you a couple of technical things, not violence, but technical things, which is based on pressure points and everything else, to when they come in to, because I said, show me what they do to you, and then I'll show you how to resist it or to, stop it. Right?
Counter it.
And I said, now you pick which one you want. Because, see, I always believe that as a parent, it's natural you want to jump into defense.
Right.
I'm mama bear. I'm daddy bear. Well, this is the biggest crock I've heard in my life. I'm trying to say, what are you trying to say?
Yes.
Right. So I sit down there and I say, tell me what you want me to do.
Yeah.
I said, whatever you want to do, I'll support you.
Yes.
So he said, just show me how to be able to stand up to them. He said, I don't want to lose their friendship, but I want them to respect me. That's what it was. So I said, okay. So, we went through the scenarios of what they'd do, like certain holds they'd put on him, or because they did certain holds, full Nelson hold and some other stuff and hitting him. And I said, show me what they do. I said, I'm not going to show you how to break their nose. I'm not going to show you how to break their arm. I'm not going to show you, I'm not going to do violence, but I will show you a couple of things you can resist it, and you can put a little bit of pain just on the pressure back on the ear. So you might not agree with what I'm saying. I respect that, but this is how I was trying to help my son with bullying. Okay. So I showed him these things, and we kept rehearsing it over a period of time and days. And, it would be a couple months later that the parent of one of these children rang me up.
Yes.
Angry.
Yep.
Now, the kid's almost double the size of my kid. You know what I'm trying to say? Because he was slow growing up there. Rang me up, said, Pastor, I'm pretty angry about your son. I go, what's happened? I said, my boy's come home, he's got a couple of bruises. And I said, well, would you mind telling me exactly where they are, so I can know? Yeah. And they told me where. Well, that's exactly on a pressure point.
Yeah.
And I said, okay. They said, what are you going to do about it? Pretty aggressive, So I could hear the helicopter going. It wasn't a machine gun, but it was a helicopter. And I said, to be honest with you, I'm going to go to my son and say, good job. He goes, what do you mean? I said, well, do you know your son's beating up on mine? Well, yeah, but it's a jest. I said, jest? Punching him to where he's crying and hitting him and pushing him into the ground. And I said, jest, so you've known about it?
Wow.
And I said, I showed my son how to stop that. I didn't show him how to hurt, he was hurting his pressure point, but I didn't show him how to break his arm or something, but I showed him how to do that one here. Yeah. And I said, which is self-defense.
Self-defense, yeah.
And so I said, I think you, with respect, I said, I think you're out of line.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So then you know what the parent said to me?
What's that?
Could you show my son how to do this stuff? And I said, no. I said, I don't do that sort of stuff. I said, I just want to diffuse the situation.
Yeah.
And that was to me what was important.
Yes.
Right? So, and everything was fine.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like 12, 13-year-olds, okay?
Yeah,
so everything was fine, 14, I don't know. So everything was fine, and there was no problems because I'm very grateful that parent felt the ability to communicate with me.
Yes.
You might say, well, shouldn't you communicated to that parent in the first place? Well, it was an option I gave my son.
Yeah, exactly.
It was an option of, do I give you a fish or do I teach you how to fish?
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Do you want to learn how to fish or do you want to just get a fish that I caught? And so my son chose, he wanted to do that area there. So, and I tell you what, those guys were even closer as mates. No, they were. They were even closer as mates in the area. Now, let me again say, I never showed them how to do damage, box, hit, break. No, do that. Just how to protect himself in the area. Some people will disagree with that. And I understand. But if you're not in that place as a father, it's just the way I am.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When I was with my father, my father's like, this is how you break the nose. This is how you, no, my dad was a violent man.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
This is how you break the nose. This is how you do this here.
Yeah.
Right. So, that's what happened. But the fact of the matter is, there are ways to do it, politely. No one's heard and not reported.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Well, like there's no teachers involved because there's nothing done in that area. It's just protection.
Yes.
Right. So we're cutting off the point. But what I'm trying to say here again is that in all these areas of the books of sex and all these things happening here, we have got to primarily develop communication with our children that our children can feel they can talk to us.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
And so I'm going back to your case. So if my daughter comes home and says, Dad, this happened, but Dad, I didn't do it. I'll go, all right, sweetheart, I'm going to go see a teacher and I'm going to find out what's happening.
Yes.
And then the daughter says, well, do you think I'm a liar? No, sweetheart, I'm not saying you're a liar. But there are lies being said about you. So I need to get to the bottom of this because
Yes.
it's your good name. So let's find out what's happened.
Yes.
And it wouldn't be going in there as an attack because so many parents go in as attack.
Yeah.
So it's not going in. And, it's like basic, okay, you're going to use psychology. Okay. So we talk about relationships, right?
Yeah.
So let's say, for example, I had a run-in with you, Ed.
Yes.
Okay, which would never happen. But let's say I did, okay?
Yes.
And let's say I had a run-in with you and I felt that your response to me or your behavior to me, I felt was inappropriate.
Yes.
Now, you might feel like no big deal,
What's
but
he
it's
talking
inappropriate.
about?
So the way that I would teach people or counsel people or advise people to handle it was I wouldn't go and say, dude, how can you talk to me like that? Or how can you say that? See, that's because straight away that puts you on the back step,
on the
aggressive,
defense. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Whoa.
So
hey,
rather what we do is I go like this. I go, hey, look, Ed, I know you didn't mean it. I know you didn't mean it. But the way you spoke made me feel like this.
Yes.
So what you're doing is straight away you're not arming yourself because I'm not coming in accusing you. I'm coming in saying, look, I know you didn't mean it, so I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt.
Yes.
But what you said to me hurt me. So it's from my perspective.
Yes.
And that's the whole thing about communication is, I mean, you guys are around me long enough. I don't know how much you I'm always saying communicate. Erica and I are just talking about a situation right now with some folk. And I said, oh, these people out here. And Erica goes, oh, yeah, it just wasn't communicated. You know what I'm saying? And that's always our pet thing about communicate. Like,
Yes.
if we can just communicate. And again, you might be thinking, what's it got to do with some sex book? Look, I can't stop this world from being what it is.
Yeah.
This world is at war with my beliefs. I'm not saying at war with me, but is at war with my beliefs, my values.
Yes.
I have values which are contrary to this world.
Yes.
It's the way it is.
Yep.
Okay, I can't change the world in as much as this world can't change me. I have my set values. I have this. The Bible says, "Live in the world, but not of the world."
Not of. Yeah.
So I have to live in it. I'm not going to go live on an island, okay, lock myself up and have no communication. And this is what religious groups have done
Yes.
and do.
Yes.
So I have to live in this world. So what I've got to do is equip myself. So equipping myself is not just me, but those who are connected to me.
Yes.
So I can't stop my son, when he was younger, being exposed to certain elements that I feel are corrupting. But what I can do and work at is to keep the doors of relationship open so that they can feel they can talk to me.
Yes.
And if they can talk to me, I've won.
Yeah. Yes.
I've won.
Yes.
And what happens as parents, like I always remember in parenting as a teach, there is the difference between discipline and revenge.
Yes.
So this family just put new carpet in their dining room. Who puts carpet in the dining room?
Oh, goodness.
Yeah. What? In their dining room.
Well, there are people who have people in nice new homes have fully carpeted. And a part of the carpet area is the dining rooms. There's a formal dining room. So it does happen, right, Erica?
Ugh.
Yep.
Yeah. So they have carpet. They just got new
Yes.
carpet done for
Okay.
the living room, right? And they're sitting there very excited. And they got the little fella, we just call the little fella Johnny, okay?
yep.
And he's about 5 or 6, right?
Yes.
And because a special occasion, they gave him a cup or a glass of Coke, okay? I'm not advocating Coke. I'm just saying this is they did Coca-Cola, right? And in his excitement, little Johnny knocked the cup over.
Yes.
And it went down onto the brand new carpet.
Oh, not the new carpet. Yeah.
So the father impulsively overreacts.
Yes.
Okay. If this was 30 years ago, I'd say he gave Johnny a smack on the tush.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But being today, I'd say he berated him and sent him to his room without supper.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, here's the issue. It was an accident.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was an accident. And so the punishment was really revenge.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was the father getting revenge on little Johnny wrecking his new carpet.
Yeah.
But it was an accident.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sure, little Johnny can be, but you got to prepare for that when you're doing it for your kid.
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say? It was an accident. It wasn't, I have predetermined that when I sit at mummy and daddy's dining, I'm going to pour my Coke on there. It wasn't a predetermined. And we have got to learn to realize that as parents, we can't go down to the same level as our children. If we're dealing with a 5 or 6 year old, you don't go down to the 5 or 6 year old's level. I mean, but we have adults today who can be 20, 30, 40, 60.
Yeah.
And the way they berate is like they're only 10, 15, like a child. Yeah, the Bible says be childlike, but don't be childish. Right? So childlike means the sincerity of faith. Childish is the immaturity.
Yes.
And again, what I'm trying to say is, and maybe I'm getting it wrong to communicate to you, everything comes back down to parenting.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
If you think you can protest enough to stop this world, I've got news for you.
Yeah.
You can't.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
You know, if this is the big issue today, comes in more. Now, there's some more books that was recommended, and we're getting them in. Can we just show those books and bring up there?
These are, so the blue one is the one that we've already talked about, the parenting one. The other 4 are age appropriate books. So the youngest one is ages 3 to 5.
Yeah, I can see ages. The story of me, 3 to 5.
Yeah. Baby's
Before I was born,
yeah.
5 to 8, which is, I imagine, the relationship. Okay.
Yeah.
How and when to tell your kids. Now we're getting all these books in. So if you're wanting these books, you can ring the office 3209-7444.
Yeah.
Yes.
3209-7444.
Yeah.
And say, hey, I'm wanting to order that set of books that was talked about on the podcast, or you can you don't send me a message on this, but you need to contact.
And they'll have them at the bookstore as well.
Yeah, and we'll be getting them in there. But,
Yeah.
I mean, I've ordered a couple sets of these books, because I always keep in my own library as well. And so we want to get these in for you, the bookshop. But I think these are great alternatives. So rather than me just saying, burn the book, burn the book.
Burn the book.
Okay. What I want you to understand is that let us offer some alternatives.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the only reason why such a book is made is because there is a market for it.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Parents need the guidance
Right.
on how to
Yes.
communicate.
So if we as parents or Christians put our head in the sand, which is not a true reality, but in a head in the sand, and say, I don't want to know about it, I don't want to know about it, I don't want to know about it, okay,
That's too much for me.
then the world will step in.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So what we've got to do is say, okay, why is this book out there?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Ed, just so you know, the card is full.
That's
Is
okay.
that okay?
That's all
thanks.
good.
Thanks. Sorry.
Okay, whatever that means.
Whatever that means.
Yeah.
It's not recording anymore.
Nah, it should be right.
Okay.
Just going live.
Nah, it's fine. It's all good.
Okay.
It's all good. Don't worry about it.
What
Don't
we
worry
talking
about
Forget
it.
about it. No worries.
Forget about it.
Excuse
Bit
me
of
for
New York.
interrupting.
That's okay. You can interrupt anytime.
No worries.
But what I'm trying to say is, because so many times what happens, so even on this book,
Yes.
we get this outrage,
Yeah.
right?
It's true.
And even reading some of the comments that we've had on the ad, we get outraged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of the wording on it was pretty inappropriate.
Yeah.
Okay. I see it's been deleted, which is great.
Yes.
But the fact of the matter is that what we've got to do, and this is what I do, is we sit back and we go like, okay, why is this here? Well, it's pretty simple. Because somewhere there's a voice saying, I need to know what's happening.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we've got to fill that void.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So we got to say, okay, if you're into this book, you think it's great, that's up to you.
Yeah.
But allow us to offer you an alternative.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we have good Christian-based people.
Yes.
Okay. So her degree is in philosophy.
Yeah.
Okay. This particular guy here is in psychology.
Yeah.
So we're seeing in different areas here. All right. And so we're saying, have a look at it, consider it, see what works for you.
Yes.
But all I ask parents is if you want to develop what I call a safety zone, it has to be communication.
Yes.
It has to be communication. And if you don't establish healthy communication
Yeah.
relationships,
That's good.
Yes.
that's where your problem is.
That's good.
You have to know that your children can talk to you.
Yeah.
And you have to develop a healthy, and you know what you're doing? You develop that? You're developing them great for their own marriage and their own future.
Yes.
That's right.
Isn't that right?
Yes.
It comes
Right.
across
Yes.
there. So that's just my opinion. Okay.
Yes.
And, take it, leave it, whatever else.
agree.
But we need to be working in that area. Any closing comments on this thought?
Yeah, I think it's good. I think education is very important, and also when it comes to self-empowerment as well. Knowledge, the day you stop learning is the day you die.
Yeah.
And I think it's also good that we're bringing out alternatives, because I think it's all great us saying like, this book bad, do not buy this book. But then if we're not going to give any alternatives
That's right.
to like, it's like the negative versus positive. If we're just straight up saying this book's bad and we're just being negative, and now we're bringing a positive spin to it, saying
Yes.
this is what you should be using.
The
This is good
alternative.
an alternative content.
Yes. And bridging it with your kids.
Yes, and we've brought this up on the Tuesday meeting, staff meeting, and it was both the kids pastor Kiara and our youth pastor Jake. They didn't even know about this kind of stuff is happening with this current generation, and now they want to start doing something where they're like bringing it up, whether it be in the kids ministry, in the youth, anything like that. So in a way, this is done a lot for us in a weird way. This is in a way bringing the church
Positive.
It is bringing positive, even though it's like, oh, I can't believe the world has access to this book. It is bringing a positive into the church where it's like, okay, we need to be more active in this area now.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Erica?
God created us with a sex drive, unless you have the gift of celibacy, because that is a thing.
Yeah.
And it's good, and it is healthy, and the enemy tries to distort that, but it's positive. And yes, seek the Lord for wisdom. Amen.
And my closing thought is this. If you were to say to me, what's the greatest thing I could teach our son when he's younger, is the greatest importance we had for our son, besides Jesus, was not academic. It was not athletic. It was confidence.
That's so good.
The greatest thing we taught Josiah was confidence in who he is, who he was going to be.
Yeah.
And one of the things I taught him, there's a book called Boundaries. I think it was Henry Cloud. I wrote it there,
that's right.
Boundaries for Children.
Yeah.
And I taught it in the church. This is many years ago, over 20 odd years ago. And I taught Josiah how to say no.
Yes.
That's so
Yes.
good. Right.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And saying no was this, no.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it tells us that in pedophilia,
Yeah.
despite what some silly people made in comments, okay, in pedophilia, I think it's something like 80 to 90% of cases of pedophilia has been committed by people whom you know.
Yep. Absolutely.
Predominantly could be families, could be a cousin, uncle, whatever else. Right? And what has been drummed into kids is that if they're an adult, you just have to be complicit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what we taught Josiah is that if anything brings you uncomfortable, you go, no.
Yeah.
Right? Now, we had an occasion where this happened.
Yeah.
So good friends of ours, Stephen and Susan Eldred,
Yeah.
and their kids was Andrew, James, Emmeline. Emmeline's in the church of her wonderful family.
Yes.
And so what happened is we're going away for anniversary. So Josiah loved the Eldred family, and he was staying the night, which is wonderful. He'd jump into bed. Everything was fine. He's a young fella and really, really good.
Yeah.
And they had friends come. He's a pastor from up north
Yeah.
to visit. And they introduced Josiah to our friends. And Josiah went, no. So do you know what happens? You can be a 5, 6, 7-year-old. I'm going to tell you, even your son Cruiser too. If you teach him when he's going to go, no, the hand out, no, teach him to do it, no,
Yep.
it stops an adult. Because
Yeah.
in the cases they've studied with pedophilia,
Yeah.
they said the child doing nothing in their imagination was licensing to go ahead, freedom.
So shocking.
But a child who can't physically outmatch it, but just going no,
Yes.
in not every case, but has stopped these things.
Yeah.
No, I'm uncomfortable. It means I'm uncomfortable. No.
Yeah.
So what happened when they came in and he said no, it had such an effect on them a couple times that he just went no
Yeah.
when they went to say hello that the parent, Stephen, had to ring me up
Wow.
and said, we have this situation and we know it's from your training. Can you help us out in the area? So I said to say, it's okay. You know, you still have your boundaries, you're going to know, but, you know, you don't have to be so, like he was like a watchdog. He's only like 5 or 6.
That's so good.
But he's saying no. And that's something that we had worked to build in him. So again, I'm coming back to, we got to do these. You can't rely on the schools.
That's right.
And you can't rely on, and if you think a Christian school, I mean, there's going to be some things that are better, but they still have their problems.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay? It's like I said to my wife at church, don't leave your purse lying on the pew.
Yes.
She goes, but I'm in church. I said, that's right.
Correct.
Sinners come to church.
Yeah.
Okay, right?
Yeah.
Sinners come to church. So, in like the Apostle Paul said, quoting Moses, says, if you want a clean barn, don't have any ox.
Yep.
Because you're going to poop, right? So, the fact of the matter is, again, I'm going back to this thing that we've got to communicate. We've got to go through it. We've got to do these areas. And we have to celebrate our children to where, because Eric, you think, how many times I said, like, you just got to be quiet because Uncle Bob's here. You just got to be doing ear.
Totally. That was a very old, like the older generation thing.
Do you think that's changed today?
I do. And
I don't think it's changed as much.
well, it's changing because of me and what I'm teaching my son. And
Yes.
it's
Well,
like,
but you're teaching what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But I still meet people in the church and in the area, they get shy. And because the parents say, go ahead, talk to them. I said, look, if your child feels uncomfortable, say hello. Please don't tell them they have to.
that's right. I agree.
I said, let it
agree with
be.
you.
Let it be.
Yep.
Because when they want to, they come around. You know what I mean? Like, I see people like, I say, hello, how are you? And the child goes, this. The baby goes, don't be rude. I said, let the child be. If the child feels uncomfortable, it's okay. I'm not taking offense to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't force the child to come up and say hello. If the child feels very uncomfortable, it is okay.
Yes.
And so we as adults also got to say it's okay when a child does that.
Yep.
Like if you take Cruz, I think it was the first time the other week he came and tapped me on the leg. Now, mind you, he wanted a lollipop. I didn't know
he
it,
did.
but he tapped me in the leg. Now, I was elated.
Yes.
And I smiled at Erica like, oh, wow, he hit me on the leg. And she goes, well, it was for a lollipop. I said, it doesn't matter. He hit me on the leg because all the time I try to talk to him, he goes like, goes away like this, and so all of a sudden he's connecting, you know, and to me that's because he feels a little bit more comfortable, and so to me, you know, I'm still talking about it a week later. I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago.
I think it was a couple weeks ago at PM.
But I'm still talking about it because he felt comfortable, and then all the times he would just look away and I'd be like, don't worry about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I'm not offended. Don't worry about it. You know what I mean? It's okay. You know, even if it's my granddaughter, I say, it's okay.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Because if you feel comfortable, you do. If you don't, it's okay. And I don't take that as rude, but I mean, of course, kids will go to an extreme in the area, but we got to develop them in that area that you can't make a child be complicit, that just because they're older, you have to obey them.
Right.
Yes.
Dear Jesus, please, Jesus, help us to teach people that I don't want your boy taught that they got to obey the adults is get in the car.
Yep.
Right? They go, no.
Yep.
That's what we got to do it. I know it seems anti our social life, but we've got to protect our kids.
Absolutely.
Amen.
Absolutely.
Just a different point. There's big news is about Dan Andrews, the Victorian Prime Minister.
Oh, yes.
Made that announcement on Tuesday. You have something on your little bag of tricks there?
No.
Okay. And he made the announcement that we are not going to have the Commonwealth Games in rural or regional Victoria for 2026.
Yes.
And when he gave his conference, news thing, it sounded fairly reasonable in the context saying, you know, it's supposed to be priced at 2.6 billion. It's going to be blowing out between 6 to 7 billion.
Wow.
You know, we can't afford it, but it's only 3 years out because they're giving it 6 years in advance.
Yeah, 2026 it was meant to be.
Yeah. But I'm saying they were given it, appointed
in 2020.
6 years in advance.
Yeah.
So the 2020 Commonwealth Games, it was announced they'd be doing it. They didn't get the torch.
Yeah.
Well, they had the torch now already because the last one would have been
2022.
2022 gone, where they got the torch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or it's going to be this year where they get the torch.
Yes.
So can you check up when the next Commonwealth Games is on? It must
Sure.
be this year, 2022, and where
Sorry,
it's
I
at.
don't know. Yeah.
But they're saying 2026 because Edinburgh, I think, is they had it the other year. So it's all of a sudden caused a thing. And now the Commonwealth Games, well, the Australian Commonwealth Games guy came and said, this is shame and embarrassment, and athletes have come out in the area. And then Dan Andrews came out by saying, well, you know, we never wanted it, but they asked us. And then the Commonwealth Games Committee said, no, they pursued us. And I mean, all this is going on. But it comes back to ask the question.
Yes.
I mean, how expensive is this thing? So we looked up to see how much the Olympic Games is going to cost us here in Queensland. What year is that? 2032, 2033?
Yeah, 2032, yeah.
It's going to be estimated 34 billion.
Yeah.
With a possibility of a blowout to 40 billion.
Oh my goodness.
Then, for example, and then when the Premier was online saying, no, there's no blowout, it's all calculated, then they said, well, what about the Wollongabba Stadium? That was supposed to be $1 billion fit out. Now it's blown out to $2.6 billion. Don't tell me not. When we had the Commonwealth Games here down the Gold Coast, you remember that?
Yeah.
It's supposed to be the biggest windfall we had. And they told all the locals to go on holidays.
Yes.
And all of the restaurants, cafes to stock up.
Yeah.
Well, all those restaurants that stocked up had no business.
Yeah.
It put someone on bust. No business. All those who were there, Commonwealth Games, went and bought the food there. It was just a tragedy for the business trade.
It was okay. So the Gold Coast was 2018.
Yes.
The most recent ones were 2022, and then
That was in Edinburgh, wasn't it?
It says Birmingham.
Oh, Birmingham.
Yeah, and
Okay,
then the next
Birmingham.
ones are 2026, and now it's TBD.
Yeah.
To be determined.
So they're talking about if Birmingham will have it again.
Oh wow.
Because they're the last one doing it. But the fact of the matter is that it is just gonna. But so you got to. So let's just put aside Dan Andrews and let's just put aside Victoria, whatever else. And I understand the emotions.
Yeah.
But you got to ask yourself the question: when do we say it's too much? Like Victoria's debt,
Yeah.
state debt. If you combine Queensland, I think, and New South Wales together, it's higher.
Yeah.
So it's a big debt.
Yeah.
I think. Can you look up Victoria's debt compared to rest of Australia?
Yep.
It is a huge debt, and you got to ask yourself the question. You know, how long do we keep doing this for?
Yeah, exactly. These games, yeah, is it really worth it?
Like, I want the game. I love the games, right?
Yes.
But I got to tell you something. I was not too excited about Queensland winning the Olympic Games.
Yeah.
No, I mean I'm being honest because of the. I know there's a lot of infrastructure happening and it's going to affect us personally with the roads.
Yes.
But what I'm talking about is the money. I mean, how do we justify, even if it was on budget at 34 billion, blow up to and don't tell me, Premier, it won't be blown up more because they got the Gabba from 1 billion to 2.6. Oh, that's before we did our rubbish.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the things are out of control.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
The Victorian Liberals say the state's debt is larger than any other state and larger than New South Wales, Queensland, and Tasmania combined. Sorry.
Thanks, Erica. So she gets me every time. I'm sure she does it on purpose. No. Okay.
Stop.
Okay, excuse me.
Stop. Okay. She doesn't look good. But the fact of the matter is that.
That's
So
a
at
lot.
what point do you say, as a premier, being responsible, I just can't afford it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're saying that the debt of Victoria, if you combine Queensland, New South Wales, and Tasmania,
Yeah.
it's still bigger.
Yeah.
They say they expect Victoria's gross debt as a proportion of revenues to be about 200% of operating revenues or 3 times more than it was at the start of the pandemic.
Yeah, well.
So you got to ask the question. I mean, like, Queensland has big debt.
Yeah.
Okay, our debt is the biggest it's ever been, and we're doing between 35 to 40 billion dollars. Then you have all these promises of return.
Yes.
It's just not true. That Commonwealth Games we did. You go down Smith Road and you see all those coloured apartments or whatever it is, units, which is supposed to be where the what do you call it, the athletes stay, which was nice.
Yeah.
It's nothing. It hasn't worked out now since it's come on. So, I mean, there's been some new sporting infrastructure, and I think that's great. But
Yeah.
when do we say, like, the homeless, like Victoria's homeless is the highest it's ever been on the street? Ours is high.
Yes.
When do we say, like, look, guys, We just can't do it. It's just too much. And do you kill the man because he's saying I can't do it? Like, what happens? Where is the fiscal responsibility? Like, what happens? So, well, what's your opinion?
Shaun.
Putting aside labor, okay.
Shaun,
What do you,
tourism though. Tourism. We need to have the Olympics, so we bring tourism to Queensland.
yeah.
So that's why it's
Well, it's
really
Brisbane.
important. Yeah, Brisbane.
Well, it's not even called
Tourism.
Brisbane now, right? It's called, what is it called now? It's a different name
Something.
we have now. So, Erica, what is your opinion then? Since
Tourism.
since Ed's playing
That
with
was
me.
a joke answer.
We know.
So there's like a documentary about the ruins of Olympic Games.
I think I've seen this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The like stadiums and stuff around the world. It's very interesting.
Los Angeles has the ones there.
Yeah.
So back when I had Twitter, I tweeted, a response to we have the Olympics. And I was like, yeah, but what's the plan for the long term? Like, is it actually going to be sustainable? Will it actually benefit? And they said they have plans that it will. So I don't know if they'll follow through, but
So you talk about the stadium. So let me do a little quick quiz on you two. We had the Commonwealth Games. When was it? 1982? Was that
I'll
right?
find out.
The Brisbane Commonwealth Games.
Okay.
Okay. We had the Matilda kangaroo.
Okay.
And where the belly opened up and all these kids.
1982.
1982. And all these kids
Okay.
ran out with a guy who's been charged and died. It was excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ralph Harris. Okay.
Yeah,
was
yeah.
in there. All right. So we did there. So they built
Yes.
what we call the ANZ Stadium in McGregor.
Okay.
Nathan McGregor, right?
Okay.
That thing now is just a ruin.
Oh.
It is a ruin. I remember that after they did the games, I went and trained there, running on the tracks, just jogging, and doing weights. And the equipment was beautiful. It was the best equipment I ever saw. So I wanted to, and it was so cheap just working the equipment.
Wow.
But then several years later, things were stolen, parts were falling apart, and nothing's maintained. That stadium
Yes.
is just an embarrassment. It's a beautiful position. It's a big stadium. I remember when the Super League came and they separated, and that was the Broncos area. We used to go to the games at Sinai. It was great, but that is exactly the idea of it just being left to ruin. Just left to ruin.
Yeah.
And I just think that we've got more important things to spend our money on right now. And I don't mean disrespect, because I think our athletes are important. Wouldn't it be great if we just had Greece, like
Just one
Athens or
location?
Greece?
Yeah.
This is where the Olympics began. So let's pour in the money, and the good Lord knows that Greece needs money.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's just pour in the money. This is where it began. Let's just do that.
Let's just keep it here.
And then in the Commonwealth, it's all about the UK. Let's just pour in the money in
Stay
the
over
UK.
there, yeah.
Just stay there. You know what I mean? Do that area there, and the athletes are invited over.
Yeah.
Okay.
They
So
say reduce, reuse, recycle, except for big stuff like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
but I'm just saying, like, how do we financially do it? And then, I hear Dan Andrews, I hear people complaining about it. I don't know all the information up there, but I can understand why you say it's just too much.
Yeah.
It's just too much. I think of us, I think it's out of control. And
Yeah.
with respect to our premier, and I say this sincerely, she probably won't be the premier next year. Okay, but she wants to be in charge of the Olympic area involved, because it's her thing that'll live on for a bit longer. I don't know if she will or not, but the issue is that the next government or 2 or 3 have got to live with this debt.
Yeah. Yeah.
And honestly, right now, I think we need housing.
Yeah. Housing.
Okay,
huge.
not 1 or 2 things. We need to be dealing with electricity.
Yes.
Electricity's out
Cost
of control.
living, petrol.
Means the Labor promise they gave us that your electricity bills will be $275 a year cheaper. I'm going to tell you, it's more than $275 more expensive now compared to what it was in the year. And these issues aren't being addressed. Since when did and I love sports. I like trade, but since when do these things become more important than the whole area? But anyhow.
Oh, but just forget about your misery. Look at your favorite sports person getting a goal.
Do what they did in the other days. Just put a facade up in
Yeah.
front of the areas where the royalty would come down to pretend it's all okay, but
It's
it was
all
just
good,
a
it's all
facade.
good, it's all good.
But it's going to come. All right. Well, I hope that our conversation today
Yes.
had some value to you,
Yes.
as much as we try to do, I still really believe that in the midst of things that are concerning,
Yes.
I believe that one of the greatest keys or tools that we have is our ability to communicate to our children.
Yes.
You cannot rely on the education, and Eric and I talked about this, being left in the hands of government.
Yeah.
And the church has a role to play, but
Yes.
again, it is secondary.
Yes.
How many times have I had parents come to me and say, when I used to be a youth pastor, and others, oh, my child is playing up. Why isn't your youth group helping? Look, I'd say, I have your kid once a week for 2 hours.
Yeah.
The problem's at home.
Yes. Yeah.
I can work with you, but the problem is at home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've got to work on. We've got to be careful that we're not so busy. The problem today is that, well, always has been, we're so busy, we don't have time for our family. It's not the quantity, it's the quality of time.
Yeah.
You've got to have time, you've got to relate, but more importantly, you've got to build a relationship. You've got to build that relationship where your child can communicate with you.
Yeah.
Yes.
And please, parent, no matter how difficult that conversation is, no matter what you think that child is doing wrong, you've got to have that relationship where that child can talk to you.
Good.
When do you stop being a parent? Never.
Never. Yeah.
But the big issue comes from when they're living under your roof, you can speak into the life.
Yeah.
When they've left your covering, you got to wait until you're invited.
Yes.
That's. I'm talking as a grandparent now. It's a
yeah,
big switch.
Yes.
But we never stop loving. Amen.
Yes.
What do we have happening this Sunday?
Shane is sharing at the
So
AM.
Pastor Shane is speaking at the 8 a.m. and the 9:30 a.m. morning
9:30
services. And I am here on Sunday, so don't
You
think
are
I'm
here.
away. Yes, I am
You are
here.
here.
People think when I have guests that I'm away. How good a job did Peter Hartley do last week?
Yeah, it was awesome.
Really good.
Yeah, it was really good.
He did fantastic. I mean,
Yeah.
like, Peter's a good man, but it's great when they do even better than you expect.
Yes.
And I hope that sounds right, but he did really, really well. I enjoyed his Sunday. So Pastor Shane is sharing at the 8 a.m. and the 9:30 a.m.
Yes.
We're live streaming the 9:30.
Yep.
And at the 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock.
5 o'clock, we have Josiah sharing the
Josiah
word.
sharing.
Yeah, Pastor Josiah.
Yes.
And we have prayer at 4:30. So how do you think the 5 o'clock service is going?
Well, I can't have a nap anymore between services, but you know.
The rest time is that Sunday afternoon is my favorite poppy nap. You know what I mean? But it's not as it was. It's like a market day. There's no change.
There's no change. Yeah.
Look. I think the time is good for me selfishly because I get home earlier.
home
So I'm
earlier.
not going to lie to you, selfishly. And there was a good crowd there Sunday night with Peter. So it was good. So I don't know. I don't. So you're single, so you can go out to midnight. I'm older, so I like earlier. So it's okay there. So Erica, you're a young family. So can you notice a difference from the 5 o'clock to the 6 o'clock?
Yeah, I've been struggling to make it on time because I usually do my grocery shopping Sunday, late
Being on
afternoon.
time, Erica, is not your strength. Okay,
But
but it's
I'm
okay.
gonna-
I love
but
you anyhow.
It's worth it for the end time. It's worth
I'm only
it.
going to do 2 initials for you. HJ.
Hungry Jacks.
That's our brother. I love you. It's okay.
I heard rumor that the lockup people are technically still locking up at the same time because people linger so long after.
Well, that's
Yeah.
It's nice.
what you're
It's
talking
nice.
about. Even so they're talking about like
Yeah.
7. Well,
Yeah.
we asked at
Oh, wow.
8 o'clock.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it was rumor, so I haven't fact checked it. So,
I'm
but
sure
I
it's
heard it
not
was
8 o'clock.
around the same time.
8 o'clock.
I don't know. Or
Oh.
like they're getting home at the same time.
Because I thought the whole
So-
deal was that because they go earlier, it doesn't affect people like me. I said, all right, see ya, bye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and you'll be going, good, get into
Let's
bed because you go to
go,
school.
make dinner.
But then Ed will be like, hey, let's go out because the restaurants are still open. We're finishing an hour earlier, right?
Well, I've been doing it. I've been going to GYG after the services lately.
GYG.
On your own?
What is that?
Oh, not on my own.
Guzman.
Guzman and Gomez, the Mexican place.
Ah.
$3 tacos, man. Oh, so good.
Excellent.
I love those
Soft
$3
or crunchy?
Crunchy, of course.
That's not real tacos.
Whatever.
Yeah,
it tastes
that's
good. It tastes
that's
good.
just
alright?
white people make that up. Okay.
Anyways, we've digressed.
soft.
We're wrapping
hey,
up.
What does
right?
this look like here?
It looks like transparency. Okay, so a little bit of color.
Olive.
All right, so it is working for you then.
It's good.
Yeah.
It is positive.
well,
I
then-
think it's positive.
Yeah, well, yeah, I am. That's where I get the information.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for me, I'm home a bit earlier.
Yeah, it's good.
All right, so that's good. Okay, for you,
It makes it more
you
bearable.
get cruised to bed.
Yeah, he's not so grumpy.
Yeah, and for you get an extra bit of time to go out and before the restaurants
Yeah,
close.
GYG, yeah.
Yeah, so
Whatever.
so that works. So that's good. So on
Yeah.
that wonderful point, we'd say we love you. God bless you. And we look
Yes.
forward to seeing you on
Blessings.
Sunday.
Yes. Bye, everyone.